Hello guys, welcome to our channel EduFam Study. Today we are going to do NCERT question answers of chapter number 4, The Diary of Annie Frank. Question number 1 is, what makes writing in a diary a strange experience for Annie Frank? Answer, writing in a diary was a strange experience for Annie Frank as she never had a diary and it was a gift on her 13th birthday. She considered it her best friend on which she relied the most and with whom she shared all her ups and downs. Why does Annie want to keep a diary? Answer number 2 is Annie always feels lonely and distressed. So to get all her burden and pain she wants to keep a diary in which she finds a true friend as she has hardly any friends whom she could confide in. Question number 3 is, why did Annie think she could confide more in her diary than in people? Answer number 3 is, Annie felt that paper had more patience than people to listen to her plight. So it was easier for her to write all kind of thoughts which she had in her mind. Her personal diary was not meant for anyone else to read. Question number 4 is, why does Annie provide a brief sketch of her life? Answer, by providing the brief sketch of her life, Annie wants to give an overview of her family, her relatives, and her age. This helps the reader to develop a connection with the author. Question number 5 is, what tells you that Annie loved her grandmother? Answer, Annie lived with her grandmother for some time while her parents settled down in Holland. She was very close to her grandmother. She writes in her diary, "No one knows how often I think of her and still love her." On her 13th birthday, by lighting up one candle for grandmother, she shows her love for her. Question number 6. Why was Mr. Casing annoyed with Annie? What did he ask her to do? Answer, Mr. Casing was annoyed with Annie because she was very much talkative. He punished her by giving her extra homework to write essays to keep her silent and the topics always related to her nature. Question number 7 is, how did Annie justify her being a chatterbox in her essay? Answer, Annie justified her being a chatterbox in her essay by explaining that it is due to her mother, who was also very talkative and nobody could do anything about their inherited traits. Inherited traits are those qualities of the parents which have been now in their children's. So, do you think Mr. Casing was a strict teacher? The answer is no, Mr. Casing was not a bad or strict teacher because a teacher did something for the welfare of his students. Any teacher would be annoyed if children keep on talking in the class. Secondly, if he had been strict, he would not have laughed at Annie's funny arguments. Question number 9 is, what made Mr. Casing allow Annie to talk in class? Answer, Annie's last essay in the form of a poem showed Mr. Casing the lighter side of a naughty child. It helped bridge the generation gap between the teacher and the student. Question number 10. Why was Annie right when she said that the world would not be interesting in the musings of a 13-year-old girl? Answer, yes, Annie was right when she said so because most of the people don't want to give importance to the child's perspective toward the world because they're too immature for the world. But Annie Frank has become one of the most discussed of all Holocaust victims. Her diary has been translated into many languages, and the name of her diary was Kitty. Question number 11. There's some examples of diary or journal entries in the before you read section. Compare these with what Annie writes in her diary. What language was the diary originally written in? And what way is Annie's diary different? Answer, Annie's diary was entirely different from most of the examples given before the text. It was somewhere closer to the memoir in which the name of Raj Kapoor has been mentioned. It was originally written in Dutch. It has informal tone which excludes the careful nature of a teenager. Question number 13. How does Annie feel about her father, her grandmother, Mrs. Kupras, and Mr. Kazin? What do these all tell you about her? Answer. Annie has fond of memories of her father, grandmother, Mrs. Kupras, and Mr. Kazin, who have left indelible impressions on her mind and affected her life a lot. The way she represents all of them in her diary reveals that Annie was very good at understanding people and at developing interpersonal relations. Question number 14. Why does Annie write in her first essay? What does Annie write in her first essay? Answer. Mr. Casing asked her to write an essay on the topic a chatterbox as punishment. In the essay, she accepted the drawbacks of being talkative but argued that it was in her genes, as her mother was also very talkative. It was difficult to give up the habit, and it was also a student's trait. Even Mr. Casing laughed at the argument she had given. In this picture, we can see a little Miss Chatterbox. Question number 15. Annie says teachers are most unpredictable. Is Mr. Keesing unpredictable? Answer. Annie took perfect example of Mr. Casing as an unpredictable teacher because Mr. Casing seemed to be indifferent towards Annie's behavior. Earlier he laughed but later he allowed Annie to talk in the class, post reading her essays. So that's why we can say that Mr. Casing and teachers are unpredictable creatures. Bye guys, this was all for today's